Okay, yan po. Happy New Year po. Happy Chinese New Year sa inyo lahat. Kaninang umaga, pagkagising ko, nasa Pasig ako. It was in the air, the drum beat ng Dragon Dance. I don't know kung saan nanggagaling, kung anong mall meron noon, or what, but it was there. And it caused my heart to thump. Nakaka-excite, no? It's nice to have a holiday for this occasion. And it's also very nice. We get a lot of good news from China right now. For example, our first news is Philippines to get COVID-19 shots from China's Sinovac on February 23. Alam po ninyo, itong mga nakaraang buwan, marami tayong narinig about Pfizer, Moderna, and so maraming nagbebenta po rito, nagmamadali, pinagmamalaki. Tapos ang American press, nilalait ang Chinese vaccine, Russian vaccine, Cuban vaccine. Mahusay lang Amerika. Pero even at that time, I was saying, may problema tayo ni Ado, no? Yung cold storage problems and so on. And yun ang nangyayari na ngayon. So our next item, ngayong umaga ko lang dinagdag, February 12, Sinovac covers Pfizer vaccine delayed shipment dito sa Pilipinas. Ayan po, hinabol po natin yan. So kung walang Sinovac, lalong delayed ang ating vaccination program. And in fact, ngayon, New York Times has this opinion from Archel Pabrala and Chi Yok Ling. Opinion nila, it's time to trust China's and Russia's vaccines. Bakit? Hindi makahabol sa delivery commitments ang Pfizer and Moderna. Ang AstraZeneca naman, nire-reject sa South Africa. Kasi 10% effectivity lang doon sa mutation doon sa South Africa. So, nung mga nakaraang buwan, maraming mga parang walang believe sa Chinese vaccine. Ngayon, even the Americans and everybody knows that it's the even safer ones.
In Europe.
Yeah, in Europe too, tinatanggap nila because short nga din sila. And yung may mga counting problema sa AstraZeneca. But the important news this week is that the World Health Organization, after several weeks of Western propaganda saying na hinaharangan ng Chinese government, dinidelay, they finally made the trip to China, itong World Health Organization team, to investigate the origins, the source of the virus, and they have made their conclusions. Ito po, I don't know kung na-flash na, from CNBC, ang conclusion ng World Health Organization, unlikely that COVID came from Wuhan lab, WHO says. So my question dito, dinagdag ko, and that's a question of Kaado, matagal na, will the US open Fort Detrick to WHO inspection ngayon? Kasi yun ang isang sinasabi na pwedeng pinanggalingan nito. Kasi bioweapons laboratory yung Fort Detrick. And I think to seal the coffin on this so-called Wuhan virus, sabi ng WHO, and I take this from the Fox News, WHO drops investigation into whether COVID-19 virus leaked from Wuhan laboratory, calling the theory unlikely. In fact, sabi ni Peter Daszak ng WHO mission, sabi niya, don't rely on US virus intelligence. Yun ang next image po natin. And this is reported by France 24. Ayan po. Kasi maraming disinformation galing sa Estados Unidos. If you want more information, please get this book of Kaado Paglinawan. Yan. No vaccine for a virus called racism.
Yes.
So, Kaado, please explain your book again. This is the third or fourth time that...
as early as 6 months ago, sinulat ko na ito, na paglulubid-lubid ng West, especially ng United States, at paggamit ni President Trump ng COVID-19 as a
China
political
virus.
issue against Biden. But what is coming out here? Punta ho muna tayo doon sa science, no? As early as September, I already got wind na itong si Eileen Woodward ng Business Insider, no? Sa istorya niya, sinight niya ang isang Jonah Massett, ang isang epidemiologist sa University of California who worked at the Wuhan virology camp, giving 4 reasons why a coronavirus leak would be extremely unlikely, debunking a fringe theory that has no evidence. Number 1, the lab's samples do not match the coronavirus. So iba yung hawak ng Wuhan at yung lumabas sa outbreak. Pangalawa, ano ang pangalawang ano niya? The laboratory implements rigorous safety protocols, no? Number 3, the coronavirus is the latest in a long line of zoonotic disease outbreaks. Rather than a leak, the coronavirus is more likely the latest disease to have jumped from an animal host to humans, experts say. However, reason number 4, sabi niya, everyday people are more likely to get infected than researchers who wear protection. So, ito ang as early as then, lumalabas sa mainstream media na hindi naman pinapansin ng mga people who have a propaganda agenda. So anong ginagawa ng US, no? It was no less than ludabs sa Fox News, no? Ang nagsabi, if evidence is found that COVID-19 is a biological weapon, some pundits have called for the US to declare war on China. So this is consistent with what we're discussing here about the saber-rattling going on, about the propaganda dito, yung pag-poke nila ng kanilang mga, mga phallic symbols nila, which are the warships and the submarines, to provoke conflict here. Pero ano ho ang katotohanan? The Wuhan lab became the center of scrutiny for possibly releasing SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus causing the global COVID-19 pandemic. The United States, led by Trump himself, was up in arms to hold China accountable for the global coronavirus pandemic. Pero ano ang katotohanan? Ano ho ang katotohanan? Now we found out that the U.S. National Institute of Health funded coronavirus research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China to the tune of $3.7 million, no? And this grant was approved by Trump's COVID-19 guru, Anthony Fauci, in 2015. We also found out that a group of virologists at the Wuhan lab had already received, since 2014, nearly $600,000 from a multi-million-dollar 5-year grant funded by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases to research the spillover of bat coronaviruses. The grant, which was managed by EcoHealth Alliance, was renewed for another 5 years in 2019. Nung lumabas tong revelation na ito, alam mo ang ginawa ni Trump? Pinakat niya kagad kay Fauci yung grant ng Wuhan lab. So the Wuhan lab, ang ginagawa nila sa Wuhan lab was not a Chinese thing. It was a U.S. thing. And it's funded by U.S. funds. And Western experts and scientists were also collaborating with Chinese scientists in the Wuhan lab. Ayan ho ang the greatest cover-up na ginawa nila. And later on, and if you buy my book, you will find out where the coronavirus really originated.
Okay.
And I had proof not only in terms of media releases, but in the very testimonies affecting the U.S. Capitol, yung lower house ng U.S. Congress.
There is a sector in the international community collaborating to really fight epidemics and pandemics, Ebola and so on. WHO is also part of that, no? So, ang US nagkaroon ng problema sa ilang mga laboratories nila, so they farmed out the researchers. Of course, Wuhan lab is one of them, but it's not only the US that is helping fund these things. France also has some funding for the Wuhan lab. The point is, the Americans know this. That's why there are Americans who are telling Trump, you're wrong. But Trump was using it for political purposes. You know? And tayo dapat maintindihan natin yan, lalo na ang publiko natin. At wag po tayo magpadala doon sa mga anti-China narratives na lumalabas sa mainstream media. So, Ana, what's your comment?
For me, it's like they reverse the narrative and then they want to escape from the accountability. Kasi kung tulad nga sinasabi ng book ni Kaado, established siya in a way. So pero for them not to be accountable, they point fingers to China just because yung lab nasa Wuhan. So it's easy to connect these things and call the virus a Chinese virus for political propaganda. And ako ganun din ang tingin ko They're trying to propagate this tapos may iba pang mga issue provoking China to respond aggressively.
I think there are 2 points I would like to make here. Unang-una, we want just to alert our audience na be critical sa pag may mga bali-balitang ganyan na may lamang politika, geopolitical pa. No? At nakita natin na sa Amerika meron ding may matino because nga may opposition to their wild propaganda. Anong katinuan na nakita natin? Si Presidente Biden ngayon nag-utos na i-purge lahat sa official US government documents, memorandums, etc. Yung term China virus. At Wuhan virus. Pinalilinis niya. So,
that's very discriminatory and that's racism to call the virus Chinese.
Kasi nga, noon pa naman sinasabi ni Kaado din and other people, yung Spanish flu ba? Hindi naman sa Spain nagsimula yun. Sa Kansas, USA, na dinala ng mga tropang Amerikano sa Europe at kumalat doon. At kaya natawag na Spanish flu kasi Spain lang ang neutral doon sa gera. At hindi nag-o-object kung anumang information war na nangyayari.
Kanina sinabi ko yung scientific basis kung bakit iba. Sino nagdala nung kaibang virus na yun sa Wuhan na naging sanhi kung bakit doon nag-outburst. Wala hong iba kundi yung 300 American sportsmen who were participating in the World Military Games that
American
was being held in Wuhan.
Sportsmen, military.
Military.
It was a military game sponsored by China where many countries sent troops and then nagko-compete, pabilisan ng tangke, sharpshooting, pagalingan, But the background there is that kaya nga yung aking post is the US ready to open Fort Detrick to WHO investigation. Kasi yun ang isang suspecha. Nagkalik doon, kaya noong 2019, laganap ang flu sa Amerika na sobrang marami na hindi mapaliwanagan ng mga doktor. But they just called it the flu. And then yung vaping deaths, maraming vaping mga bata nagve-vape let's go to Kaado for that explanation there.
Yung March 11 po sa CNN video nakuha ko na yung investigation ni Representative Harley Ruda said, itong question niya, ang kanyang tinatanong si Robert Redfield. Sino po si Robert Redfield? Director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The guru himself pagdating sa mga ganitong issues. No? Ang tanong niya, and if somebody died from the influenza, are we doing post-mortem testing to see whether it was influenza or whether it was COVID-19? Tandaan po ninyo ang data, March 11, 2020.
2020.
Ha? Hindi pa tayo nagla-lockdown
Hindi pa.
dito.
15 tayo eh.
Ang sagot ni Robert Redfield, there is a surveillance of death from pneumonia that the CDC has. It is not on every city, every state, every hospital. Balik ni Congressman Ruda. So we have people in the United States dying for what appears to be influenza, when in fact it could be coronavirus or corona or COVID-19? Sagot ni Redfield, some cases have actually been diagnosed that way in the United States today. Robert Redfield, the director of CDC, admitted on live video that some of the 14,000 to 20,000 Americans who died of influenza in 2019
Oh, wow.
in the U.S. were attributed to the flu but were posthumously discovered and diagnosed as COVID-19. Marami na hong namamatay.
20.
Sa Amerika, wala pa yung Wuhan outbreak.
Yes.
And that's why my book
2019,
traces it to no other place. Saan ho nagsimula ang COVID-19? The first outbreak was reported in Springfield, Virginia in June 30, na ikinamatay ng 3 tao and many more were hospitalized. Bakit dinala ito ng Wuhan military sportsmen? Dahil yung hotel na binook yung mga
Sundalo.
300
Yung 300.
was only about 200 meters away from
From the-
the Wuhan laboratory. Kaya doon na lumabas. Dala-dala nila yon.
Tsaka also very near the Hainan Wuhan wet
Market,
market.
oo.
Wet market.
So just as they did it in 1918, coming from Kansas, USA, ito po ay first outbreak in Springfield. A few days after the Springfield outbreak, sinarhan nila ang Fort Detrick sa Maryland. Why is this close to my heart? I live less than a mile away from where in a senior citizen community in Springfield, Virginia. Andiyan po ang aking residence sa Springfield, Virginia. For so many years, where I serve as a Philippine diplomat in the U.S., up to today, may residence ako dyan. And I commiserate because nandiyan ang pamilya ko. Kaya nga sabi ko, huwag kayong lalapit doon. Because you're very close to where it all started.
So you mean, Kado, June 30, 2019. 2019.
2019?
So that's even before pa. Kasi December.
No, yung investigation was 2020 already.
Oo. Pero but
Senate
many
hearing.
people already
Congressional
died.
Within 29, 14,000 to 20,000, marami na doon ang
Namatay.
COVID-19 cases dying in 2019.
Yes, yes.
Can you imagine that?
Pero the question is, this has not been pursued further, ang investigation nito.
Ngayon pa lang lalabas na yan kasi binalik na ni Biden ang US sa WHO.
HO.
Yes, yes, yes.
Kaya si Trump, bakit niya inalis ang US sa WHO? He was covering up. He was covering up himself because he was double talking the American public and the entire world into this information war against China.
But even then, ang tanong ko, would Biden really allow
That's right.
an investigation?
Yeah.
Kasi it's one thing na they are in the WHO again, WHO, but it's another thing if they would allow really an independent investigation that what happened in China. Mas maganda sana para, di ba,
That's
kwentas
right.
claras ang ano.
Well, that's why we have to take a scientific attitude and not a political attitude
Yes.
here, no? Hinihintay natin kung bubuksan ba ng US. We're not indicting the US.
No, definitely
Number
not.
one. Number two, there are also reports from the Western scientific community that they have discovered the COVID-19 in sewage water in Spain,
Italy.
in early April of 2019. In patients in France and in Italy, as I think November of 2019.
Before the Wuhan.
Yeah, so we should treat this as a problem and challenge of humanity, not of any
Ang
country.
genesis niya, Mentong, yung sinabi mo kanina. Because as early as 2014, nililimit na nila ang use of as war of mass destruction.
Destruction.
So, as early as 2014, 2015, bakit napunta yung outsourcing sa China, sa Wuhan? Dahil nag-outsource din sila sa Spain, sa France, at saka sa Italy, which are the most affected. Why? Kasi pinuhibit po ng Amerika ang animal testing within the United States. So, yun ang in-outsource nila dyan. Nilabas nila yung virus from Fort Detrick at dinistribute nila different variants and strains all over the world. One was in China na sinasabi, itong sa Wuhan virus, hindi naman ito yung lumabas doon sa
different.
Europe.
Wuhan na hotel and seafood market. Magkaiba sila eh. So saan ang galing yan? Nanggaling sa labas yan. Yung dumating, so ang ginawa ni Trump, sinarhan kaagad after the Wuhan outbreak ang all travels coming from China. Pero ang hindi ginawa ni Trump, hindi niya sinarhan ang travels from Europe. Kaya, ano nangyari? Yung nakawalang mga virus sa France, sa Spain, at sa Italy.
Yun ang pumasok sa New York.
Before the US, pumasok sa New York. And that is why, ang nagsimula po ng virus, bukod pa rin sa lumalabas na outbreaks from within, na supalpalan para mga outbreaks from without, that explains, ladies and gentlemen, why the US has now become
The worst.
epicenter of this pandemic. And oh my God, Mentong, kinilabutan ako when I went to Nueva Ecija. Dahil as early as 1940, umattend ako ng usapan ng mga spiritualista at saka Rizalista. Alam mo ang kanilang prophecy ng isang guro nila doon. Alam mo ang sabi? Darating ang panahon na ang Third World War ay magkakaroon ng Third World War against isang kaaway na hindi nakikita. My goodness, when I heard that, kinilabutan ako Mentong, you know why? The first chapter of my book, the first chapter is this. Why do I, nanginginig ang kamay ko eh. The first chapter of my book is Fighting an Unseen Enemy. Fighting an Unseen Enemy. Nagkaroon na ho tayo ng Third World War. And the US declared the Third World War against us using this bioweapon by accident. Yan ang problema.
Ang problema, bumalik din sa kanila.
Kinilabutan ako dahil 1940 pa yung propesya ng mga spiritualista.
Okay. Well, anyway, we, of course, are appealing to more scientific approaches. But of course, maraming anggulo yan. No? The latest is, sabi ng ilang mga balita, ang sad fact is that COVID-19 will be with us.
Yes.
But that's not very sad because flu has been with us all the time. Polio, pero medyo na-eradicate natin ng polio. And so, but we will get used to it.
We need to live with the virus.
Immunities will be building up.
Herd immunity.
So, wag po tayong kalala. The future of man is very bright. Ang inaalala ko is the unseen enemy from outer space, the asteroid. that has destroyed the Earth before. And that is why science is important because science lang ang makakatulong doon sa pagbibiyak po. For example, kung may asteroid na parating na dito, it's not going to be resolved by prayers and so on.
Yung asteroid na yan sa Hollywood.
Sa Hollywood, marami. Okay. Anyway, we'll give the last...
Totoo pala, by the way, totoo na may asteroid talaga.
Tapos na tayo. Last word to the lady. Please, two discussions natin, sum it up in 1 or 2 sentences.
Yeah. I think for me, my last comment would be that people in this country has to be very critical, and they just don't need to believe what it's being propagated, especially by mainstream media when it comes to China-Philippine relations. They have to be very, try to do more research, verify information. And also with the virus, you see, it's justified. It's not from Wuhan, it's not a Chinese virus. Let's avoid racism because that's not healthy for anyone at all.
Okay, maraming salamat, Miss Ana Malindog.
Thank you po. Thank you
Ana
po.
Rosario Malindog-Uy. And to all of you, we'll see you again next week.